I don't want to take a lot of time to introduce this next wonderful powerhouse, anointed woman of God. She and I met in a very unusual way. We went to the same church. My husband and I were on staff there. And how we kind of bonded was that at the time when my sister, who was 18, was killed by a drunk driver, she really embraced me, ministered to me, and gave me this CD. And it is something that she created after her brother, who was 17, Sean, was killed by a drunk driver. And it was filled with worship and scriptures. And I don't even know if she knows how much that ministered to me and brought life to me for probably a year. I think I wore it out. But she is an incredible minister, is how I really became so impressed with her was she was an expert in helping people get free from sugar addiction, and had a radio show, and she had you know, bus benches all over the city with her program, and just every time she's gotten revelation, she has shared it with others powerfully. She is one of those women that broadcasts the good news, as we are encouraged to do. And then through the years, we were able to do different things together. I was able to spend a lot of time with she and her husband, Drew. And this year has been quite an unusual year for her, and she's here today to share about her life, her story, and it will definitely bring you hope. So welcome, Miss Samantha Taylor. I love you, I love you, I love you.
We go back a long time.
I know. It was funny, we were calculating, like, that can't be
It's
20
over
years?
20 years.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
You look just as amazing.
Well, you look even better because you
awesome.
take care of your temple so well.
One thing you didn't mention, I do own 4 personal training studios in Florida, and God's allowed me to share my love of health and fitness, you know, for that. So do you want me to kind of
share about all the women you've helped, you know, transform their health and their lifestyle and their choices?
Yes. When I met my husband, he was my personal trainer. And I'm here to talk about hope because of, you know, what has happened. So I'm very vulnerable and very real, and I'm just going to share it like it is. When I met my husband, he was my personal trainer, and 29 years ago, and we both loved fitness. We were so passionate about it. And he was someone that really encouraged me to get fit. So I, you know, just fell in love with him, and we had an amazing connection, just a dynamic connection, and just went through a lot of stuff together, just a lot of life. You know, you were around and praying with me through many things, and you know, the hope of one surviving the intensity of marriage in general.
Oneness is no joke.
It's not hard to be married. I mean, it is hard to be married, but the Bible is saying you become one. Like, how does that happen? I mean, that's a miracle just in itself. But we just grew up together. I was 17, he was 21. You know, we went through so much junk in the beginning of our marriage, of growing up to an adult. And, you know, just to get right into the story, I'm just trying to share hope and encouragement for those going through a difficult time. Because nobody ever expects trauma to come knocking at their door and literally blowing your house over. It's like a hurricane that just comes in and rips everything out of your environment. And my husband suddenly became ill. And after watching someone who took better care of his body than anybody I ever knew. I mean, he ate so perfect and just really cared about taking care of himself physically. And he just started to cough a lot. And I was like, what's going on? He was just coughing. So he kind of got like a walking pneumonia for like 3 months. And he didn't want to go to the hospital because he was getting ready to compete in a Mr. Florida bodybuilding championship. And he looked ridiculous. Like, I might be biased, but he was gonna win it. I mean, he looked spectacular. He was 51. I mean, you saw what kind of shape my husband was in, and he was in amazing shape. And he's like, I don't want to go to the hospital because I'm afraid of getting infections. So I'll keep this part short because the hope and what God has done out of this. But he just got worse and worse. And finally we're like, you got to go to the hospital. You got to go. And he's like, I'm just scared. So he went. And the last thing he said to me when we were getting in the car is, don't let me die. And I'm like, honey, you're not that bad. I mean, come on, get in the car. You're going to be fine. And this was only 9 months ago. So it's, you know, still fresh. Even though I'm very happy in life and God has restored my heart in many other ways. But, you know, we went to the hospital and he didn't make it. And it was 3 weeks he was in the hospital. And he just got worse and worse and got 3 infections in the hospital. So when he finally went to heaven, I mean, I was in complete shock. I mean, absolute shock. You're talking someone that looks like Superman, literally on a hospital bed. Everyone was saying he was going to die. And I'm like, did you see what that man looked like when he came in here? I mean, this is not going to be our story, just so you know. This is not where it ends. And plus everything he and I had been through. I'm like, it doesn't end on this hospital bed. I didn't for a second think he was going to die. And everyone was telling me he was going to die, and I did not believe them. We had 15,000 people praying for us all over the nation, and even from Africa messaging me. So I was, you know, had to really get alone with the Lord. You know, when your life is ripped from you like that, but you have a choice. Yeah. There is a choice. Yeah. And I don't want to be insensitive to somebody that might be going through trauma and going through a very difficult time that feels like you're suffocating. It literally feels like you can't breathe. But there is a God that loves you. There is a God that cares for you. There is a God that is your comforter, that is your strength, that is your mercy and your grace and your hope. And right when my husband died, I was screaming. I kind of lost my voice, and I think I have to have surgery because I'm serious. It's been damaged. And I was like, are you kidding? Did this just happen? I feel like I'm in a nightmare that has not ended. And once he was dead, I could not believe it. I just couldn't believe it. And I ran up to the wall. I had this hope plaque on the wall, and I ripped it off the wall and said hope. And I was just screaming, God, I have hope in you. And just like you said, hope is what we expect for, not something we have. And as my husband is laying there dead and his spirit's in heaven, I am screaming out in front of 15 nurses and 3 doctors, I have hope in you, God. I praise you, God, because you're God, not because of this, but because you are my God and you are on the throne, and I will serve you and I will submit this to you. But it was traumatic. And I just got out of that house, and you were one of the people that I had called. And I'm like, he's gone. And I mean, you were just shocked.
I remember that call, and I remember, you know, asking the normal questions like, can we raise him from the dead? can we stand in the gap? And but you told me, I said, are you alone? Because I didn't want you to be alone. And you said, no, but I've been walking around the parking lot for an hour.
3 hours I was out there.
Well, I think when you called me, it only been an hour. But
yeah.
you said, I'm walking around the parking lot, I'm holding this sign, and I'm not letting go. And you said, I'm just going to keep walking until I feel released. And you know, there's things, there's times we don't know who God can be to us in certain moments.